All right, so continuing for the my video about critical race theory. See, I was talking about actually at the last moment that the video cut off. Forgot my phone was full of stuff, but I was talking about the book White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo that has been criticized by people on the left, and I mean specifically I know about the basically Adolf Reed and Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper criticizing it, and but I think, yeah, so that's been a theme for the especially Matt Taibbi, like focusing on it. And I mean, I think maybe, you know, they have found some problematic things in it, like with DiAngelo herself, maybe, like, at least certainly some of the way that it's presented is problematic, but like but I mean, I just watched, I've watched a few of their segments where they talk about it, their, video vlogs or whatever. And I don't see enough of a smoking gun. Like this one, they did show like something where she was on TV and she was listing like the problematic things that white people do. And like one of them was like being careful. And like, yeah, that does come off as either just dumb or just selling whatever, a bad approach. Like, but I don't know. I just have noticed that the Matt Taibbi just seems overly irked, and maybe it is white fragility, like he, I don't know. It's like, just because a lot of people who bring race up a lot are race reductionists and ignore class, and are therefore useful at times for for capitalism, it doesn't mean that the racial things they're bringing up are wrong, or even that they shouldn't be bringing them up. I mean, it's all about emphasis and, what you're actually saying. I mean, like I say, it seems like some of her messaging is bad, but I mean, it seems she's very open about her own flawed nature as like a white person who's sharing her own voyage, her own journey through, trying to not be a racist person, and not be culpable in white supremacy, and etc. Like, that's something everybody should be doing. I mean, you should just, I mean, if like, yeah, if that's not, not everybody has to focus on it the way she does. Not everybody has to make a career out of it. But I just find it cringe when Matt Taibbi is constantly assuming that she's just that all her motives are nefarious. Like, it's just it's just an unnecessary bad battle to pick. Like, it's just like with CRT. Like, I think Matt Taibbi is against critical race theory probably for similar reasons, that he's found some bad tendencies in them. But I think by the same token, he undervalues the issues which CRT is meant to address. You know, it's like, I found it very cringe watching him, and I mean with Adolf Reed, like he's black, and he, you know, as a black leftist that I think was part of civil rights movement or connected to it, and he has his own, you know, analysis that's critical of I'm not sure about CRT, but at least of Robin DiAngelo, and that's fine, you know, and maybe she would welcome that criticism, but I think the criticism from Matt and Katie just seems so disproportionate. Like, again, it's like, you should scrutinize everything. You should scrutinize it, and like they, you know, I would thank them for showing me that, you know, there are some flaws in her approach at times, but overall, like the things that they were finding fault with in this video, this is you know, came out, I guess, today, July 9th. No idea what date it is wherever, but July, no, it's the 13th. So this came out July 9th. You know, Useful Idiots on YouTube, Black Scholar Adolf Reed destroys, all caps, quote unquote, white fragility, and Robin DiAngelo. I mean, was already kind of like miffed at Taibbi over some other recent stuff, but that I can't discuss, or YouTube will delete me out of the timeline. But they it's not great. Like I just find, and I'm not like damning them, like I did unfollow them, but yeah, I unfollowed, that was about something else. I don't know, would I unfollow them about this? I don't know. I mean, I understand that they're focusing on class and they're focusing on power issues, and not like focusing on, you know, they kind of want to, they understand how the weaponization of making it about every single white person takes the heat off, can often take the heat off of the actual systems of, you know, oppression, because it's just diffusing the attention into this, like, you know, it's like, so any and that can certainly be the case, but that's not a reason to shy away from the facts, the reality that racism is super widespread, and confronting it. You know, like we can walk and chew gum, and maybe these things will be harder than walking and chewing gum, but like, you know, we're big kids, like we can try, we can, I don't know, I just think like I understand that maybe, you know, her approach of like saying like white fragility, etc. It's not like if you're just gonna out of the blue talk to some racist white people, or white people that have some problematic views or beliefs or information, or, you know, false information, maybe you don't want to lead with like white fragility or say, certain of her language that she might employ, but I just feel like, well, I don't understand. I'm not trying to cancel the Useful Idiots podcast for this. I'm just saying that they shouldn't be canceling her, because it's like they're kind of doing a campaign against her, and it's kind of like seems obsessive. And considering the fact that you can't disprove her own statement that she does care about racial justice and that is why she's doing this, you can't prove that she's just like doing it for money or doing it to help capitalism or whatever you claim. But if you keep just like asserting that without proof, it's like disrespectful to her. It's disrespectful to your viewers, because we expect more of you. We expect when you're going to levy accusations against people, you're going to come with like the receipts, you're not just going to like pull a verdict out of your ass and just hand it and foist it on us. Anyway, so I don't see it like, I know you guys is some ongoing thing you guys have. I know you guys have done videos against her, and maybe she said something against you in retaliation and you flipped out, and now you're having D'Angelo derangement syndrome. I don't know, but it's not useful. It's not useful. You're not being useful idiots, at least not for. You're being useful. You're being like what you're accusing her of doing. You're like creating needless division. And like I say, I'm not canceling you. Delusions of grandeur that they would actually watch this, but just indulge me. Like, I'm not canceling the Useful Idiots. I did unsubscribe, but that was over other stuff. But like, it just, so even with like Matt Taibbi's just offhand dismissal of both just easy denunciation of Robin DiAngelo and critical race theory without giving me really any, like, I watched this video, it's like hour and Jesus Christ, people, hour and 21 minutes I watched of this. Not all of it was about that, but that was the biggest part of it. And I didn't really see, like, again, I saw like one little thing that was problematic, or maybe a couple of things that were problematic about DiAngelo, and that's it, for like endless haranguing about her and her motives and all this. It does come off as white fragility. Like, it really does come off as that. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to briefly psychoanalyze because I can't help it, but, even maybe I shouldn't, but, I'm just thinking like they both, in the segment, they admit they're from upper class backgrounds. They are from leftist background, they longtime leftists, but part of the very relatively white part of the left, as opposed to like, they weren't part of the Black Panthers or something. They were like, he was like, there are parts of the left, of the American leftist world, that are, white, that are whiter than the Republican Party, let's just say. Like, there's a lot of parts of the leftist world in the US that are very white. And I think it's unfortunate if, if people are who spend a lot of time in those worlds are not able to understand that there's other people who have to, I don't know. I just feel like maybe they're spoiled by not having to make room as much for Black issues or for the racial issues, like, and it could just be their own specific histories and trajectories have been more focused on state power and capitalism and whatever. But that's why they shouldn't belittle somebody else just because they're doing something else. Not everybody has to do the same thing. It reminds me a little bit of when Jordan Sheraton was having a meltdown because BreadTube was doing, and like LeftTube was doing too much videos about Jimmy Dore and the Young Turks conflict, and he was just like freaking out about it, but he was really just mad they weren't sharing his videos. And it's just cringe and shitty behavior to just shit on other people for doing something that you're not doing, and then just finding some, nitpicking some little issues. Maybe somehow they're right and she's terrible, but they didn't show me in that 1 hour and 21 minutes and 33 seconds that I gave them for this video that's supposed to be about how they destroy Robin DiAngelo. It's like they're kind of destroying themselves, and they're even like, and I don't want them to destroy. I hope that they're not. I hope that they do what I'm saying that they should do, and that they get past this, because they've have, at least on certain issues, they've been very good and valuable, and I don't want them to go further down this stupid path. And other leftists as well, there was some other video that I was watching where he was talking about critical race theory, and they're putting it in the schools and yada yada. I can't really judge that, again, because I don't know enough about it, and I don't know which parts of it they're putting in the schools, but it's like I don't want to hear about it unless, because it's like everybody's saying the name, like critical race theory, CRT, this and that. Everybody's saying it, and nobody's quoting an actual thing about it. Nobody's specifying anything about it. So it's like, I don't need to hear the name again. Like, don't tell me the name this and the name that. Just be different. Be the one guy who says something real about it, not just like, hey, I do or don't like this, buzzword. So yeah, they showed her, Robin DiAngelo talking about, I honestly, I sympathized more with her, and I don't know much about her. I probably know she's like a total shit lib or whatever. But on this issue, at least, my sympathies were with her, because as far as I could tell, and they need to bring in some body language expert like Joey Reid or something did, but for me, as far as I knew, she was telling the truth, and she may have had a flawed analysis in some ways, but it's just very bad look, at the least, for Taibbi to be assuming the very worst of somebody who he cannot disprove is actually genuinely anti-racist and caring about racial issues and wanting to do something positive. You know, like if you're gonna shit all over somebody like her just for the littlest thing, like y'all don't make mistakes. Like y'all, I mean, this segment was a mistake. So anyway, and so yeah, I think that's the same about critical race theory. That at least if you're gonna critique it. Don't just like say, CRT bad. It's just as it comes off as just as brain dead as like the orange man bad NPC, behavior and like mindset. Like we need to fight racism. We need to fight capitalism, and even for those of you, I mean, if anybody watches this who's conservative and they don't like capitalism, I mean, they do like, well, I mean, I don't know. Capitalism is kind of just a Rorschach word that arguably means nothing, but, however you identify with that, like, even if there's something in CRT or in some of this that you genuinely find objectionable, you're not going to stop it just by yelling CRT bad. You're going to stop it by quoting it and telling me, instead of wasting my time with this CRT bad, just trust me thing. And another thing, I think she was the Robin DiAngelo, the author of White Fragility, she was, I mean, I think the title of that is irksome to Matt Taibbi and maybe to Katie Halper. And, it's like it's problematic in a sense. It's kind of like toxic masculinity or something, where it's certainly if you interpret it in a certain way, it can be problematic. Like if you interpret it that everything white is, everybody white is fragile, or everything masculine is toxic, then certainly it's bad. But if you use it in a looser sense, just to refer to a certain tendency or, something that you're observing, I certainly have noticed a massive amount of white fragility. Like I've adopted the term just because I was kind of shocked. Like I had like the view that, I don't know. I didn't realize like how broad and widespread white fragility was, in the sense that I feel like white people should, they're like, even poor people and people like me that are white poor people, at least racially speaking, we're not at the, we're not the oppressed group or whatever. We can have a little bit of thick skin. We don't have to be such like children about stuff. And I've found that so many white people on the internet and stuff, like they can't even hear like the crimes of like their ancestors, or they can't even hear like angry black voices or brown voices before they just melt down, and they're like, and they seem to think that it's the end of the world, and like and they get very victimized. They act like I find this a lot in my archaeology, where whenever I post on, I largely use Facebook, and I post about black achievements or black anything, and it will usually be ignored or vilified. Like people get very fragile about the when I post about pharaohs, like Egyptian pharaohs that were black. And I show that how the original paint, you know, in the West, we're mostly only shown the whitewashed versions that don't have paint anymore, but you have to go like inside the tombs. So I was, you know, in January, I was there going through the tombs in Egypt and seeing where most of the paint is still on, because it's the sun and maybe the wind and stuff that removes the paint. But I think especially the sun. So it's only in sheltered places that are painted, like these painted tombs of the pharaohs, that you see how dark-skinned they were. Like the paints of the pharaohs and of the ruling Egyptians and everybody is very, very dark. You know, it's like very dark brown. But there's a lot of white people who can't hear that. They freak out. Like, I'm not talking about a few, like just a lot, but like a lot. Endless supply of white people freaking out at me, calling me names. Like, so white fragility is a thing. And I would say like everybody's fragile, like people are fragile. So maybe it's just human fragility, but sometimes you just expect more when people have, at least racially speaking, they have like, they're not like, I don't know. I don't see the excuse for acting like such extreme victims for every little infraction, like anything that hurts, you know, that just that they decide to get offended about, that harms the narrative about that either white people are awesome or I don't know. So yeah, white fragility is a real thing, and she wrote a book about it, and maybe there's a better critique of her book. I haven't actually read the book, but Matt Taibbi's critique is not very good, and it makes me think that her book might have a lot of value, actually. But again, I don't know. I just know that a lot of these critiques from the left, from the right, from wherever, of CRT and these critiques of her are terrible critiques. They are bad faith. They're just like assuming stuff, giving no evidence, very paranoid and obsessive kind of vendettas. So yeah, I don't know. I would say that real leftists should not engage with that, and just let, you know, if you find a specific thing to criticize, go for it, but don't engage in this wholesale demonization of CRT or whatever, just because, you know, if you can prove it's all somehow terrible, sure, but somehow nobody's shown that to me or even tried to show that to me. So anyway, solidarity, comrades and peoples, and take care.